building. High priestess in the building, didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain in that cleanse in the rain. Down out, I was worth it and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.
Because nobody likes doing what they're doing in addiction to continue their addiction going. And eventually, enough is enough.
Right.
And that's the moment that you just know that's something I can't talk about. That's something I just can't make people understand. Like people go, when is enough enough? And that's different for everybody.
Yeah.
How much more do you got to lose? What can't you afford to lose? If you've already lost it all and you're out on the streets and you have nothing, the last thing you have is your life. And some people don't make it out of addiction alive. And that's the strongest message that right there, that some people just don't get it. And those are the people that it takes out.
Yeah, it's rough. I wanna swing to animal Reiki. When I read that on there, because it's not something that most people do. It's not really common. You don't have a lot of people promoting animal Reiki. So I know you talked about the farm, which is I feel like a huge piece of why you do it. But I feel like you also have to have a really huge place in your heart space for animals.
Um, Well, it comes down to the five Reiki principles, and in there, it's really about I will not hurt or I will be kind to every living thing, and that really sticks with you when you practice the five Reiki principles. You realize that just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will be kind to my neighbor and every living thing. Those, when you start really going through those every day, and you build them in the first 21 days of Reiki, they say that if you want to change your life, you do something for 21 days. 21 days seems to be a magic number for anything.
Right.
You want to learn something new, you immerse yourself in it for 21 days. Asui, the one that rediscovered, I don't think he did discover it, the one that rediscovered it, because Reiki is practiced by the shamans. There's different variations. The symbols go way back on cave walls.
Right.
So he rediscovered it by entering that space, that a different realm, tapping into source energy. And we all have that ability. But working with animals, for me, was very unique. Believe it or not, I used to be an avid hunter. I killed animals to eat them. When I was on the farm, we had a rabbit infestation, and we had to do what we could to limit the population because it was either spreading disease or they were getting into the food system for the other animals. They were a big problem. So when
Wow.
I got into this part of my journey, I quit hunting. That's when I was making the transition and going to vegan, because you realize that the greatest book of all time, the Bible, says thou shalt not kill. It
Right.
never says human or animal. It just says simply thou shalt not kill. That's telling me that all life is sacred.
Right.
And to me, that's when it hit, because it never says thou shalt not kill your fellow man. You love everybody like you love thy neighbor.
Right.
And that hit home, like something changed in me. And that's when I felt bad for every fish I had hooked. That's when I felt bad for every animal I had eaten, every animal I had thrown into a compost pile. It really hit hard, and it took me, I'm gonna say, close to a month to release all that, to be able to forgive myself for all the animals that I had hurt. But something changed. I noticed that once I had done that, like the animals picked up on it. Like, okay, he's sorry. And the ones that wouldn't come near me before, all of a sudden did. I
Oh,
realized when I'm doing Reiki now, it's a different story. People, when I'm walking dogs, or out and about, people's dogs are drawn to me. And they're like, my
right.
dog doesn't like anybody. Why does my dog like you? And then I hand them my business card. I'm a Reiki
Right.
healer. I do animal Reiki. Here in Switzerland, it's very interesting because Reiki, especially due to the pandemic, really died down. But people love their pets like a little bit more honestly than they love their kids. And when I ask them
Aw.
why, they go, because the dog listens. You know. Um, so I find it kind of interesting that here, how well taken care of every animal is. This is something that
Wow.
needs to spread worldwide. The
Right,
love and compassion that they have for animals here is very mind blowing. The respect
right,
for them, they're well taken care of, they're well fed. The dogs are all well trained, um, and you see how loving people are towards the animals here. Um,
yeah,
and here, I find it um, more interesting that I get more inquiries about animal Reiki than I do human Reiki. More people are more interested in the human Reiki, and most or I'm sorry, most Reiki practitioners do the animal Reiki, but it depends on your region and where you're at, whether you get more animal or more human. Obviously, if you're in the
mhm,
countryside, you're going to get more of the farmers I've tried everything. I've tried every vet in town. My horse ain't getting better. This is my prized Betsy here. What can you do for me? And
right,
they see
right,
that after 3 or 4 sessions that the horse comes back around and they're like, okay, this woo woo stuff works. All right, can you come back next week?
right.
Um, and that's how it starts. But yeah, in my experience here in Switzerland, it's more the animal Reiki than the
Mhm.
human Reiki.
Awesome. I have a question about it. When you're doing it, because I know they'll tell you like something's wrong most of the time they kind of know what's wrong with the pet. Do you ever pick up on stuff that they don't know is wrong with the pet?
Yes, yes, because the animals, especially cats, are, in my experience, are the most receptive to the Reiki energy, and a cat will literally, uh, like you know how they rub up against you,
Uh-huh.
right? Well, when you have your hands out like that, that cat will rub up until you hit that spot and then just hold it there. Like
Oh,
they
wow.
will hold it there. And dogs will do the same thing. When you hit that spot with a dog, they'll do that paw thing where they hold your hand there.
Oh,
So the
wow.
animals are very in tune because they do something we don't. We rarely remain in the present moment. Our
Mm,
minds are usually in the past or worried about the future, or either depressed or have anxiety. Very
right,
few humans live in the present moment. And these animals, they've forgotten about what happened 10 minutes ago and they could care less what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. They're
right,
living in the moment. And that's where the Reiki energy thrives, is right here, right now. Um, very few animals, very few. I'm gonna say like less than 1% have ever shunned away from it.
right.
Most of them, the second that I get myself into the zone, meditate, do my incantations, get myself prepped, do the symbols on my hands, get my wands out. Most of the time, they're already on the floor, like, okay, I'm ready. Like they already know.
Aw,
It's
aw,
an amazing thing to see. Most of them are very receptive to it. They seem to know, and they seem to tell you what's wrong with them. And then
wow.
each Reiki practitioner is different. I'm very intuitive. I don't know if you've ever seen any of my lives on in the groups or
I
whatnot.
didn't catch I did go over to your but I get so busy. I haven't caught you live just yet.
Okay. Um, a lot of people always notice how like intuitive, how accurate I am with my gifts. Like, how did you see that? Like, I haven't told that to anybody. Like,
Right,
wow, spot on. Um,
right.
and it's the same thing with the animals. Like, I'll feel something. I'll be like, how's this dog's diet? Is there something going on with the diet? And they're like, yeah, we just changed the food. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling that you should switch back.
Aw.
Sometimes it's like, hey, um, did your dog get into anything outside in the woods? Not that I can think of. And the wife comes in and says, yeah, we went for a walk and I let him off the leash and he came back and he had some dead thing in his mouth. I'm like, okay, he's got parasites. And then they take him to the vet, they check it out, and he's got some type of worms or something.
Wow.
It's the same way that I tap into other things. It's the exact same feelings. And that's how my gift operates because
Right.
I have experienced so many things in my life um, that and my brain stores all that information. I don't know how. I could barely remember what day I'm in, but for some reason, when it comes to this information, when I'm reading cards or reading an animal or a human, I feel it. and it connects to a very
Mhm.
specific point in my life where I know it could only be that one thing.
Right.
Sometimes I get the double messages and I say it and they're like, it's both. But for the most part, it's just about how is it making me feel? What part of my body do I feel it in? And what does that bring up? And it's usually boom. And it's the
Right.
same thing with the animals. I could usually feel what's going on, if they're stressed, if they're not getting enough exercise, if it's their diet, if they have some bug. Um,
Awesome. I love it because I know that on this path there's a particular place where you just have to start trusting in your knowing, trusting in that intuition and stop doubting you. There's the what was that moment for you that you were just like, I know I'm fucking gifted. Let me stop playing.
it was actually my wife. Um, it was shortly after I came to Switzerland where I was doing a reading in one of the groups. I was still on the post. I hadn't gotten into lives yet. Just I had a crappy phone. It was just not happening. Um, and I read it and I used three different decks, three different times each. So that's a total of 9 readings, and I got the same message with similar cards or those same cards over 3 decks.
Mhm.
That's like spirit just like smacking it into you like I'm not gonna tell you again. And this person was just not having it. They were like, no, you're wrong, it can't be this. And I never thought about the possibility that the person, the current that I was reading for, just wasn't receptive to the message because of what
Right.
they wanted to hear.
Right.
That never dawned on me until my wife is like, she just isn't ready to hear the truth.
Right.
And I was just like, ah, okay. And eventually I had to surrender to it. So now
Right.
when I read, um, it's very interesting because on one of my last lives, I had a situation pop up where I had these cards, and I said, "Well, this isn't really making sense. Let me reshuffle." And I pulled out the cards again, and I got two of the three cards again in a different order. And I went back. I said, "No, no, no. I'm going to trust my intuition."
Right.
Because I was avoiding it because I thought I was going to have to tell her a bad message. And then when I realized what the message was, it was there in plain sight. I just had to tap into it and not be scared to let her know, hey, you lost somebody that when you lost them wasn't a nice person.
Right.
And they were blown away by that. They're like, yeah, you're totally right. I lost
Right.
somebody, and shortly before they left us, we had an argument, and I wasn't able to get that peace and that closure. And I
Right.
was just like, boom, it's there. So, to anybody that's struggling with your intuition, listen to your gut, connect the feelings, the emotions that you're getting to a specific part of your life, and you can't go wrong because you've lived
Right.
it. You've lived it. The only time you're going to go wrong is if you have very little life experience. If you've lived in a bubble your whole life, good luck because you're not going to know how to
Right.
read people because you don't know what
Right.
that energy is. You've never felt it, you've never lived it, you've never experienced it. You don't even know what it looks like. So how can you
Mhm.
tell somebody about it? Um, and that's the way I see that is the more life experience you have, and God knows, living on the streets, being
Better.
a drug addict, having all sorts of past traumas and childhood issues, gives you a lot to work with, right?
It's a lot better.
Um, yeah, yeah. So that's what I tell people is like try to gain as much life experience or use even if you haven't lived, just connect it to moments in your life where you know that feeling means that. And
Right,
it can
right,
only
right,
mean that from there on out. Um
right. Awesome, awesome. I know we're hitting the hour mark. But yeah, I know you do tarot. I know you do Reiki. What else do you do so people at home kind of know?
Well,
Uh,
I take a shamanic approach to Reiki. I use a little bit of the shamanic modalities with Reiki. I also incorporate because Reiki is about uh, there's no right or wrong way to do Reiki. It's
mhm,
about what your intuition is guiding you to,
right,
and to me, it's the I do the Reiki with a shamanic twist to it. I guess you could say I do the oracle cards, the affirmation cards. I work with crystals, pendulums. I do runes. Um, I do the whole energy cleaning, aura sweeping, all that stuff.
okay.
The only stuff I don't work with is like bone casting and the egg cleanses because I'm vegan. Those come from an animal, so I stay clear. But yeah, I'm pretty much all very gifted. There's very little that I don't dabber in.
Right. Right. And now I was working and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.